Good morning. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let's get into the Word of God. Remember yesterday I started a series on James chapter 3 verse 17, and so we will continue that. But just as a refresher, we were talking about wisdom from above versus wisdom that is earthly, and how we ought to seek wisdom from above. And so this series, again, for the next 8 days or so, it's going to be looking at what is wisdom from above. Because verse 17 breaks it down, all the different characteristics of wisdom that is from above versus the wisdom that is earthly, sensual, and devilish, as we read yesterday. And so let's look at the first part of wisdom that is from above, that we should be adhering to. Verse 17, but the wisdom that is from above is first pure. Pure. That's a very, very important word. It has to be pure. If you imagine a bottle of drinking water, let's say I gave you a bottle of drinking water, and it was, crystal clear, and it was a hot day, and and the water is ice cold, and you see me take that water bottle, and I go over to my plants, which I just fertilized, and I take a tiny little bit of, you're not actually sure what it is. It could be fertilizer, it could be dirt. But whatever it is, I just take a tiny little sample, and I drop it right into the water bottle, and then I offer it to you. What would you say? I could probably guess. You would probably say the same thing that I would say. That's gross. I'm not drinking out of that because that has been contaminated. And I would say something like, well, but it was just it's 99.999% clean, pure drinking water. I only put just a little smidge, just a tiny, you could barely even see. In fact, it immediately dissolved. You didn't even see it. You can't even see it anymore in the water. It's dissolved into the water. Why won't you drink it? It's just a tiny little bit of fertilizer. So what? We all know the answer to that. Because the water is no longer pure. It's been contaminated. And that's the way God looks at sin. He cannot be with sin. And the wisdom that is earthly is full of sin. It's full of bitterness and envying and fornication and every evil work. Multiple verses goes down the list of how the world behaves itself and thinks. And again in verse 15, right? This wisdom that is earthly is also sensual and devilish. And so the wisdom that is from above has to be pure. What do you mean by pure? Pure from sin, pure from the world, unspotted. Okay, that's what pure means. Not even a speck, not 99.9999999% wisdom from above, and then a tiny little bit of sin. No, that is no longer pure. Even a tiny little speck of sin is no longer pure. It has been contaminated, and so we must be very, very diligent when we seek wisdom from above, that we take that wisdom from above and all of its purity and apply it to our lives. And if we want the wisdom from above to be effective in our lives, then we must be unspotted from the world. We must be pure from the world. And I mean, what we adhere to the Bible. I understand that we're not perfect, that you're going to mess up, you're going to make mistakes. But at least let the foundation from which we are making our decisions, the wisdom with which we lean on on how we make decisions, how we speak to people, how we treat people, how we live our life in this world. Let that foundation be the pure, unspotted Word of God, wisdom from above, that is unspotted from the world, no influence from the world, no influence from sin. And we take that pure wisdom from above and make that the center of our lives. And I assure you, the Word of God will not lead you wrong. I'm going to stop right there. Thank you so much for joining me today. God bless you. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.